Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Banachari Yamunatira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Sotara Sri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Go Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 26, Text 52. Etad aṇḍaṁ viśeṣakhyaṁ. Etad aṇḍaṁ viśeṣakhyaṁ. Krama-vṛddhair daśottaraiḥ. Krama-vṛddhair daśottaraiḥ. Toya-ādibhiḥ parivṛtam. Toya-ādibhiḥ parivṛtam. pradhānenāvṛtair bahiḥ. pradhānenāvṛtair bahiḥ. Yatra loka-vitāno Yatra loka-vitāno rūpaṁ bhagavato hareḥ. Rūpaṁ bhagavato hareḥ. Etad aṇḍaṁ viśeṣakhyaṁ. Krama-vṛddhair daśottaraiḥ. toyādibhiḥ parivṛtam. pradhānenāvṛtair. Yatra loka-vitāno rūpaṁ bhagavato hareḥ. Others? Vaishnavis? Okay. Etad, this. aṇḍaṁ, egg. Viśeṣa-ākhyam, cold. Viśeṣa-krama, one after another. Vṛddhaiḥ, increased. Daśa, 10 times. Uttaraiḥ, greater. Toya-ādibhiḥ, by water and so on. Parivṛtam, enveloped. Pradhānena, by pradhāna. āvṛtaiḥ, covered. Bahiḥ, on the outside. Yatra, where? Loka-vitāno, the extension of the planetary systems. Ayam, this. Rūpaṁ, form. Bhagavato, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hareḥ, of Lord Hari. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This universal egg, or the universe in the shape of an egg, is called the manifestation of material energy. Its layers of water, air, fire, sky, ego, and mahat-tattva increase in thickness one after another. Each layer is 10 times bigger than the previous one, and the final outside layer is covered by pradhāna. Within this egg is the universal form of Lord Hari, of whose body the 14 planetary systems are parts. So this purport's a little bit long, so everybody please put on your listening caps, and here we go. This universe, or the universal sky, which we can visualize with its innumerable planets, is shaped just like an egg. As an egg is covered by a shell, the universe is also covered by various layers. The first layer is water, the next is fire, then air, then sky, and the ultimate holding crust is pradhāna. Within this egg-like universe is the universal form of the Lord as the Virat Purush. All the different planetary situations are parts of His body. This is already explained in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto. The planetary systems are considered to form different bodily parts of that universal form of the Lord. Persons who cannot directly engage in the worship of the transcendental form of the Lord are advised to think of and worship this universal form. Okay. The lowest planetary system, Patala, is considered to be the soul of the Supreme Lord, and the earth is considered to be the belly of the Lord. Brahmaloka, or the highest planetary system where Brahma lives, is considered to be the head of the Lord. This Virat Purush is considered an incarnation of the Lord. The original form of the Lord is Krishna, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Adi Purusha. This Virata Purusha is also Purusha, but he is not Adi Purusha. The Adi Purusha is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda. Doesn't give the rest. Sarvakaranakanam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is also accepted as the Adi Purusha, the original. Krishna says, "No one is greater than I." There are innumerable expansions of the Lord, and all of them are Purushas or enjoyers. But neither the Virat Purusha nor the Purusha avatars, which is Karanadaksha Vishnu, Garbhadaksha Vishnu, and Shiradaksha Vishnu, nor any of the many other expansions is the original. In each universe there are Garbhadaksha Vishnu, the Virat Purusha, and Shiradaksha Vishnu. The active manifestation of the Virat Purusha is described here. Persons who are in the lower grade of understanding regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead may think of the universal form of the Lord, for that is advised in the Bhagavatam. That's the second time Prabhupada is saying that in this purport here. The dimensions of the universe are estimated here. The outer covering is made of layers of water, air, fire, sky, ego, and mahat-tattva, and each layer is 10 times greater than the previous one. The space within the hollow of the universe cannot be measured by any human scientist or anyone else. And beyond the hollow, there are 7 coverings, each one 10 times greater than the one preceding it. The layer of water is 10 times greater than the diameter of the universe, and the layer of fire is 10 times greater than that of water. Similarly, the layer of air is 10 times greater than that of fire. These dimensions are all inconceivable to the teeny brain of a human being. It is stated, that this description is only of one egg-like universe. There are innumerable universes besides this one, and some of them are many, many times greater. It is considered, in fact, that this universe is the smallest. Therefore, the predominating superintendent, or Brahma, has only 4 heads for management. In other universes, which are far greater than this one, Brahma has more heads. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that all these Brahmas were called one day by Lord Krishna on the inquiry of the small Brahma, who, after seeing all the larger Brahmas, was thunderstruck. That is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. No one can measure the length and breadth of God by speculation or by false identification with God. These attempts are symptoms of lunacy. So since Prabhupada refers to this story, which appears in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, brief, so I'll read that so everybody can hear the entire narration. So this is, Lord Chaitanya is actually preaching here to Sanatana Goswami, and he's relating this story to him, and it goes like this. Once, when Krishna was ruling in Dwarka, Lord Brahma came to see him, and the doorman immediately informed Lord Krishna of Brahma's arrival. When Krishna was so informed, he immediately asked the doorman, which Brahma? What is his name? The doorman therefore returned and questioned Lord Brahma. When the doorman asked, which Brahma, Lord Brahma was surprised. He told the doorman, please go inform Lord Krishna that I am the 4-headed Brahma, who is the father of the 4 Kumaras. The doorman then informed Lord Krishna of Lord Brahma's description, and Lord Krishna gave him permission to enter. The doorman escorted Lord Brahma in, and as soon as Brahma saw Lord Krishna, he offered obeisances at his feet. After being worshipped by Lord Brahma, Lord Krishna also honored him with suitable words. Then Lord Krishna asked him, why have you come here? Being questioned, Lord Brahma immediately replied, later I shall tell you why I have come, but first of all, there is a doubt in my mind which I wish you to could kindly dissipate. Why did you inquire which Brahma had come to see you? What is the purpose of such an inquiry? Is there another Brahma besides me within this universe? Upon hearing this, Sri Krishna smiled and immediately meditated. Unlimited Brahmas arrived instantly. These Brahmas had different numbers of heads. Some had 10 heads, some had 20, some had 100, some had 1,000, some had 10,000, some had 100,000, some had 10 million, and others had 100 million. No one can count the number of faces they had. There also arrived many Lord Shivas with various heads, numbering 100, 100,000, and 10 million. Many Indras also arrived, and they had hundreds and thousands of eyes all over their bodies. When the 4-headed Brahma of this universe saw all these opulences of Krishna, he became very much bewildered and considered himself a rabbit among many elephants. All these Brahmas who came to see Krishna offered their respects at his lotus feet, and when they did this, their helmets touched his lotus feet. No one can estimate the inconceivable potency of Krishna. All the Brahmas who were there were resting in one body of Krishna. When all the helmets struck together at Krishna's lotus feet, there was a tumultuous sound. It appeared that the helmets themselves were offering prayers unto Krishna's lotus feet. With folded hands, all the Brahmas and Shivas began to offer prayers unto Lord Krishna, saying, O Lord, you have shown me a great favor. I have been able to see your lotus feet. All of them said, it is my great fortune, Lord, that you have called me, thinking of me as your servant. Now let me know what your order is so that I may carry it on my heads. Lord Krishna replied, since I wanted to see you all of you together, I have called all of you here. All of you should be happy. Is there any fear of the demons? They replied, by your mercy, we are victorious everywhere. Whatever burden was upon the earth, you have taken away by descending to that planet. This is the proof of Dwarka's opulence. All the Brahmas thought, Krishna is now staying in my jurisdiction. Thus, the opulence of Dwarka was perceived by each and every one of them. Although they were all assembled together, no one could see anyone but himself. Lord Krishna then bade farewell to all the Brahmas there, and after offering their obeisances, they all returned to their respective homes. After observing all these opulences, the four-headed Brahma of this universe was astonished. He again came before the lotus feet of Krishna and offered him obeisances. Brahma then said, "Whatever I have formally decided about my knowledge, I have just now had personally verified." There are people who say, "I know everything about Krishna." Let them think in that way. As far as I am concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. Oh, my Lord, let me say this much. As far as your opulences are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. Krishna said, "Your particular universe has a diameter of 4 billion miles. Therefore, it is the smallest of all the universes. Consequently, you have only 4 heads." It's interesting to note there that Prabhupada says in the purport, that's Krishna speaking to Lord Brahma, but in the purport Prabhupada says about the scientists, where was that section? Back here. Can't find it. But then he said that the scientists nobody can calculate the universe. I thought I read it just now in this pulpit, but anyway, I'm not seeing it. I should have underlined it. But it doesn't seem very difficult to calculate 4 billion miles, but it's interesting to note that in the purport to that verse, Prabhupada refers to the Siddhanta Siromani, which was a astronomical work of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, before he had that title, and he gives the measurement of the circumference of the universe as being 18,712,69,200,000,000 times 8 miles. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there between 4 billion and a diameter of 4 billion and that diameter. That diameter, when you multiply it by 8, comes out to about 150 quadrillion for the circumference. And of course, then you have to divide that by, if you want to get the diameter, what do you have to do? How do you get the diameter? Well, diameter is pi, I can't remember now. Pi, 2 pi r, right? The circumference is 2 pi r or pi d. Anyway, the circumference is bigger than the diameter, but even if you do the math there, you're still going to get a number that's about 10 million times bigger than 4 billion. So, interesting. But we'll read on and we'll maybe say something about that later. So this is Krishna continuing to speak. He says, some of the universes are 1 billion yojas in diameter, some are 1 trillion, some 10 trillion, and some 100 trillion yojanas. A yojana is approximately 8 miles. Thus, they are almost unlimited in area. According to the size of the universe, there are so many heads on the body of Brahma. In this way, I maintain innumerable universes. No one can measure the length and breadth of the 1/4 of my energy manifested in the material world. Who then can measure the 3/4 that is manifested in the spiritual world? Beyond the river Viraja is the spiritual nature, which is indestructible, eternal, inexhaustible, and unlimited. It is the supreme abode, consisting of 3/4 of the Lord's opulences. It is known as parivṛtam, the spiritual sky. In this way, Lord Krishna bade farewell to the four-headed Brahma of this universe. We may thus understand that no one can calculate the extent of Krishna's energies. No one can calculate the extent of Krishna's energies. Just to give an idea of what's being presented here, how it's saying that you have the inner inhabited part of the universe, and the first shell is 10 times greater than that, then 10 times greater, 10 times greater, and 7 layers, okay? So just let's say the inner part of the universe is 1, just make it simple. So the first layer is 10, then you have 100, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1,000,000, 10 million. So the last shell is 10 million times greater than the inner inhabited part of the universe. Prabhupada says elsewhere in the 3rd canto here, I think it's the chapter Calculation of Time and the Atom, that the inner inhabited part of the universe is like an atom in comparison to all the shells. And if you do the math, which I did, just to give you an idea, the comparison between the inner inhabited part of the universe and just the last shell, okay, just the size. By the way, in this purport it mentions about all these shells are then covered by pradhāna, and it doesn't give any, number for that. What? Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't give any dimension for the pradhāna. It just, okay, pradhāna. But let's just deal with that last shell, which is 10 million times greater than the inner inhabited part of the universe. The ratio is this. The comparison is this. This is my pinky, okay? And that's my pinky nail. It's about 1 centimeter in size, okay? The ratio is the size of this and the distance from here to Laguna Beach. That's the ratio. That's from here to Laguna Beach would be like the diameter the radius of that last shell, and the inner inhabited part of the universe would be in comparison like the size of my pinky nail. Inconceivable. So that's there. Now, Prabhupada says in the purport, right at the end of the purport, that only he says, the inconceivable potency of the Lord. No one can measure the length and breadth of God by speculation or by false identification with God. These attempts are symptoms of lunacy. And Prabhupada was very fond of telling a story about one such lunatic, a figurative lunatic. He told this story about, I thought I had it pulled up, I think I got rid of it. He told this story about 50 times altogether, and it's the story of the frog in the well. It appears in several purports in the Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada mentioned it in many lectures, and everybody knows that story, how the frog was in the well, and another frog came and said, hey, I've seen the Atlantic Ocean or Pacific Ocean. He says, it's huge. And he says, well, how big is it? He says, oh, no, I can't even begin to tell you. It's just like really, really big. And he says, well, is it twice the size of this well? And, he goes, no. No, well, is it 3 times this? And each time he was puffing himself up, and finally, 4 times the size of the well. He burst, and that was it. He burst and he died. So Prabhupada, as I say, was fond of telling that story, and it's showing how you can't be understood in that way. So, Krishna's, as it says here, the length and breadth of the inconceivable potency of Krishna cannot be understood in that way. So how is Krishna understood? Now we know how he can't be understood. We heard that story. But so how can he be understood? Well, there's another nice story about, and this is one of a few stories I'll tell, of how he can be understood. It involves Lokanath Maharaj, Lokanath Goswami. A very close friend of his was Bhrgupati Swami. And Bhrgupati Swami says his disappearance day. He was Lokanath Goswami and Bhrgupati Goswami were the first 2 devotees of Lord Chaitanya that were sent to Vrindavan. And they were also commissioned, to excavate, but they was right into their bhajan. Bhrgupati Goswami is called, Bhu means earth, and Garbha means hidden, you see. So the reason he's named Bhrgupati Goswami, it's kind of, I won't say an honorific title, but it's kind of like an affectionate title. He used to chant in a cave. He didn't want to be disturbed. So when he went to Vrindavan, he just dug out a cave there, or found a cave, and he was chanting in a cave, right? He's also, according to, what's his name? Kavidas Kanapur, the son of Shivananda Sain, who wrote that biography of who's who in Chaitanya Leela. According to him, he's a Manjari, but I can't remember which name. I can't remember the name. So that's Bhrgupati Goswami. He was one of the first 2 devotees. Him and Lokanath Maharaj was sent there first by Lord Chaitanya to Vrindavan, and that was his practice, chanting in a cave in seclusion like that. The other one who's mentioned today was Kashishvara Goswami, and he was also he was a godbrother of Lord Chaitanya, and he was sent to serve. He was sent to serve Lord Chaitanya along with the Govinda after Ishvara Puri passed away. Lord Chaitanya was very reluctant to accept the service of either of them because they were godbrothers, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he discussed that with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, pointed out to him that, hey, I know the etiquette, but the instruction of the spiritual master is very powerful. It cannot be neglected. It's the instruction of your spiritual master. So despite the etiquette, you got to do this. You got to accept service like that. So Govinda became Lord Chaitanya's personal servant, and Kashishvara Pandit, Kashishvara, what did I say? Pandit, Goswami? Pandit, right. Yeah, he was like Lord Chaitanya's bodyguard. He was very big and strong. So when Lord Chaitanya used to go someplace, he would be in front, and he'd be clearing out the crowds like that, so nobody could kind of, disturb Lord Chaitanya. And he also, when they went someplace, he would serve out prasadam to everybody. Lord Chaitanya would be seated, and he would serve out prasadam to the crowds. That was his service. So anyway, back to Lokanath Goswami. Lokanath Goswami took a vow. He didn't want to take any disciples. He just was determined, I'm not qualified, I don't want to take any disciples. But Narottam Das Thakur, he also took a vow. His vow was, I'm going to take initiation from Lokanath Goswami. That was his vow. So, but he was aware of Lokanath Maharaj's vow as well. Anyway, what he used to do, he devised a plan how to get initiated. What he used to do is he went to where Lokanath Maharaj was residing, and every night at midnight, he would go to the place where he would do his bodily functions, take care of his body, and he would clean it out, clean out the place very nicely, and he put like a pot with water for him to clean himself and some other things like that. So, Lokanath Maharaj was happening. This is going on for a while, and finally decided, well, who's doing this? This is not happening by accident. Who's doing this? So one night he went, in the middle of the night, and he kind of hid to watch. And then he found Narottam Das Thakur doing that. And he said, hey, what are you doing? Who are you? What are you doing? So he introduced himself, and he said, this is who I am. And he said, well, he was actually the son of a king, Narottam Das Thakur. So when Lokanath Maharaj heard this, he said, you shouldn't be doing this. Don't do this anymore. And he said, no, I really want to do this. I want to serve you. And anyway, so Lokanath Maharaj broke his vow. He was so moved by the humility, the sincerity, and the service attitude of Narottam Das Thakur that here he was a king's son, and he's doing this menial servant, and he was begging him, he was begging him, please, initiate me. And Lokanath Maharaj said, okay, he agreed to do it. And so that he got the mercy like that. This is how you understand Krishna. That's the first part of this. I said I have a couple stories, and another story I'm going to add on to this one to make this point. That there was a time when Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was still on the planet here, and some guest came, and he had some questions. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, to the surprise of a lot of disciples who were present, he said, okay, this man was very learned, by the way. He was very, he had some qualification. I can't remember exactly what. He said, okay, just take him to the pot room and have him go wash the pots. So the man was humble enough, and he appreciated Bhaktisiddhanta as a great personality. So he went, okay. And he went and he was washing the pots. And then after an hour or two, he sent some disciple and said, okay, bring that man back now. And so the man came back, and he was sitting. And Bhaktisiddhanta said to him, so what is your question? And he said, no, all my questions have been answered. In other words, he engaged him in devotional service, and because he was humble and he was prepared to engage in service, that, whatever was, bewildering him or, what he couldn't understand got revealed to him because he was prepared to be humble and do the service. So the principle there is stated in the first canto, second chapter, text 16 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shushu Shro Shradhana Shah Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nashevanat. That, O good soul, by rendering service to those who are great, elevated, great service is done. And by doing that, Vasudeva Kataruchi, one acquires an affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. In other words, that's how things get revealed to you. If you render service to a highly elevated devotee, that devotee becomes pleased, and you get a blessing. That blessing is you become Vasudeva Kataruchi. You get an attraction for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Things become revealed to you, in that state. Basically serving the spiritual master means executing his instruction, right? And that's how, oh, well, there's another verse, I'll back up a little bit. Is that verse, Yasya deve parabhaktir tata deve tata guru tashaite katita kiyartak prakashante mahatmana. That those who have implicit faith in the words of the spiritual master and as much faith in the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the imports of the Vedas are automatically revealed. But so what does it mean, have faith? I mean, it's not, having faith means you got to demonstrate it. It's not like you just say, I have faith. It's like, you know, the Christians, I believe. It's meaningless. Well, not completely meaningless, but it's not meaningful. It's not as meaningful as when you know the instruction of the spiritual master and you execute it. That means you got faith to some extent. You see? That's how you demonstrate or build that faith, solidify it. You have to execute the instruction of the spiritual master. Then it's meaningful. Then you could say, yeah, I've got faith. Well, you know, you've proven it. You can get. Anyway, so here's an instruction of Prabhupada. This is many, of course, many instructions of Prabhupada, but this is one I'd like to kind of share with everybody today. I found this, I was listening to some lecture. So Prabhupada says here, because this is relevant to us, our situation, Prabhupada says, so we have to do this chanting, not sit down in a solitary place, not like that, chanting for ourselves. You have to vibrate the sound for the benefit of others. So that their heart may be cleansed and they can understand. If I sit down in a solitary place for my benefit, that is for my benefit, but it is not very high-class engagement. He says, we must sacrifice for others. And he quotes some Sanskrit. He says, Chanaka Pandit's moral instruction is everyone should sacrifice for the Supreme. He goes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself. He comes down to preach, to become sannyasi, and takes so much trouble traveling all over India and everywhere and giving the instruction and sending men. Go, 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 go. Prabhupada says it 4 times. Why? Why is he coming? He doesn't, it's for the benefit of others. So we must follow the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's, you know, a very practical way in which we can engage in the service of both the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And, you know, by doing that, hopefully things will be revealed to us. That's the way to understand Krishna. And of course, it's not black and white. You know, we're all doing that to a certain degree. And so I'm, you know, not trying to suggest that we're not already doing that. We're already doing that. But the idea is to keep doing whatever we're doing and increase. And in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, Krishna says, Yaya tamam papajante tam stataiva bhajamiham. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. See, so the more we surrender, the more things are going to be, more realization we're going to get, the more mercy we're going to get from Krishna, and the more realization we're going to get. And so you don't have to, I mean, we want to read about these things and, you know, be familiar with it, but the actual, and to really understand it, you know, to get, you got to have it revealed to you. It's kind of, it's not, I mean, this is gyan, it's bona fide, genuine, correct spiritual knowledge, but, you know, it becomes something very meaningful to you when you become advanced in devotional service. Like that, what's that verse? Premanjana charita bhakti velochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu velokyanti yam shama sundaram guna achincha swarupam govindamadi purusham tamhamajami. When we actually become more advanced in devotional service, then you can appreciate Krishna and this entire philosophy, and you kind of see how it's all over the place. It's, you know. Anyway, I'll stop there. Does anybody have any question? Got a bunch of hands going up. Good. Thank you. Arunjanath Prabhu.
Yeah, you mentioned about how the universe is so big and everything. And what if a scientist says, we can understand your statement that nobody could calculate the universe, that they say we could accept that because we can't even figure out how big it actually is. It's just so big like that. But if they say that, look, we could see the statements that you give saying it's a billion miles or 100 times that or 1,000 times more than that. But we can understand by our telescopes and the speed of light that it's actually greater than that. So what do you say to such people that make such claims?
What, that it's bigger than the figure that was given there by Bhakti Siddhanta?
Yes, I say it's much bigger than that. It's just like trillions of times bigger like that because of the speed of light of the stars and so many stars like that.
Yeah, right. According to their calculations, it would be a lot bigger. Well, it's, I think it's pretty speculative. I mean, they just got these, you'd have to really examine their methods and see if it was, it all made sense. I mean, I don't really know much about that. I've kind of read some things Sariputta had to say and stuff, but I don't think I could speak on that intelligently, but I would just be very reluctant to accept their authority above the authority of what's being presented to us without, really carefully studying it first. I think you could probably find reasons why that you could sort of, standard argument, they change a lot of stuff that they say. They present something at one point and then 10 years, 20 years down the line, like Judah Karma was saying in class yesterday, that 25 years ago he went to a conference on the consciousness, and then they were saying in 25 years we're going to understand how consciousness is a product of the brain, but 25 years later they're coming back and saying, nope, we don't understand it. So, their conclusions are tentative, and they might say something now, and then 25 years from now, who knows what they're going to say. So that's one point.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything?
I'm just curious about this. I'm just curious about the whole egg, the shells of the egg of the universe kind of thing, and how the inhabited area, you spoke earlier on how it's basically like the size of an atom in reference to the shell in itself and the various layers. Does Prabhupada give any kind of definitive answer to the question of what is the practical purpose of having such a huge shell versus the atom-like inhabited area?
Okay, well, Sanatana Goswami has something to say about that in the Bhagavato. I'm reading from this book by Sariputta called Vedic Cosmography and Astronomy, and he says, in the Bhagavato, the coverings are listed as being made of earth, water, light, air, ether, ego, and mahat-tattva. There it is stated that variegated activities take place within each shell. In other words, they're places of residence. There's stuff going on in each shell. It's not like it's just the little atom is in the middle, teeny little atom, and then all this just land doing nothing, like a vast wasteland. No. There's variegated activities taking place within each shell. Each shell is presided over by a demigoddess, beginning with the earth goddess Bhumi, in the first shell of earth, and in the first shell, and ending with Prakriti, the personified material energy, in the last. A yogi who is trying to attain liberation by leaving the material universe is presented with temptations within each shell, which he must overcome in order to continue his journey. So in other words, I haven't read the I don't remember reading that part of the Bhagavatamrita, but it's from that I kind of get the feeling that it's all inhabited. It's not just like, just this teeny little atom is inhabited, and then all this just land for nothing, Nope, it's all inhabited. There's life going on there, all over the place.
I also have another really quick question. As far as the Bhumandala is concerned, 4 billion miles diameter, is that like on a different dimension, or is that the actual reality that is being experienced, though we don't really see it?
Well, I read that thing. I didn't read it. I referred to that statement by Bhaktisiddhanta about how the actual circumference of the universe was 18 quadrillion miles, so which is different from 4 billion. So it seems like it's.
Well, the diameter and the circumference are two different things. Circumference is this whatever, but the 4 billion is strictly the diameter from one end to the other. That's diameter. The circumference, that can be this other number you're talking about. But I just wanted to know.
It seems like two points I'll make. Okay, one point is, it sounds like that Lord Krishna is speaking to Lord Brahma, and maybe he's talking to him in terms of his miles. In other words, it can't be that Krishna's saying something that's incorrect. Krishna's telling Brahma, your universe is 4 billion miles long, in radius or whatever, diameter or radius. I think he said diameter. That can't be wrong, but at the same time, Bhaktisiddhanta is, according to his calculation, is telling us something different, quite a bit different, 10 million times different. So here's the point. This can't be understood with our current senses. Just like you talked about Bhumandala. In the middle of Bhumandala is Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru is 2/3 of a million miles high and 1/3 of a million miles in circumference at the top. It's shaped like an ice cream cone. It's gold, and it's shaped like an ice cream. It's big enough so that if, we would see it. It's not that far away. We would see it, but we don't. So you can't see these things with your current senses. This is beyond, it's in another dimension. Just like when all these Brahmas were there, none of them saw each other. How's that? They were all there. They were all there in the same place, right there with Krishna, but none of them saw each other. It's because they were, all kind of like coming in from they were on a different dimension. They were there, but they couldn't perceive each other. So in the same way, these, these are things going on, but beyond our senses. Yeah, last point, and we'll end it.
Prabhu, thank you for the very nice class. According to our senses perception, so I might be wrong, but I want to say it like this. So the earth is first, and then we see the air, and then what is next? The ether. I just following my senses, okay? Because the earth is where we are standing up right now, and then we have the air. Next might be the ether. That's how it works. And next, what is next? Because I'm trying to find
according
out.
to this thing, if you keep going out far enough, you're going to hit a shell. And the first shell is Earth. And it's 10 times thicker than the inner inhabited part of the universe. Well, the whole universe is inhabited. But I don't know. It's like, how can you live in Earth? When you hear that, I tend to think of like you're living in the ground. But, it doesn't, when I read that statement from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it doesn't sound like it's Earth, like Earth is like living in the ground. The only thing I could think of to help me understand that was that our body is 90% water, they say, or 95% water. But you don't perceive yourself as water, right? You're like, but we're 95% water. So in the same way, this shell is Earth. Stated it's Earth. But at the same time, we're hearing that there's activities in that shell. It's presided over by Bhumi, and there's activities, and the yogis going through that shell or for different temptations and like that. So, we're hearing the word Earth, and we have a preconception. We hear Earth, and we're thinking like of, the stuff, the dirt on the ground. But maybe it's Earth, but it's not quite like that. That's the only thing I could think of, and that's a very tentative hypothesis. Yeah. What I'm saying is that like what we're perceiving, you look out into space and it's okay, then the first covering is supposed to be, is not supposed to be, is Earth, but, when I hear that, I tend to think of, okay, Earth, meaning like, what you're walking on when you walk through the state park or something like that, and this, 10 times 40 billion miles of state park Earth covering, no, not necessarily, because how do you live in Earth? You see, because it's mentioned in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita that it's inhabited. There's activities there. The yogis go through there and they're offered different temptations. It has predominating deity. So the point I'm trying to make is just because we hear the word Earth and it conjures up a certain idea in our mind, it means like that, not necessarily. Just like our body is 95% water, but we don't perceive ourselves as water. See, so maybe it's something like that. I don't know. That's a very tentative hypothesis. Better, it's a question to ask somebody like Judah Karma, perhaps. Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.